We've reconvened for a very important celebration, the presentation of the Florette Angel Memorial Child Advocacy Award. As a Jewish girl in the 1940s in Mississippi, Florette Angel saw a crosses burned on her family's front lawn after her parents resisted community pressure to fire a Black employee. She carried into adulthood the lesson of speaking for those who could not speak for themselves, and she challenged West Virginia to create a better life for its children. The award is given annually to the executive director of a Partnership for America's Children member organization who has demonstrated exemplary leadership in child advocacy as a representative for the interests of children and their families across a number of policy issues, successfully advocated for public policies and investments that help improve the lives of children and families with a particular focus on children and families living in poverty, played a critical role in articulating and championing the needs of children and defending their interests in the political process, even when those positions were not popular. Advanced the growth and credibility of multi-issue child advocacy as a professional.
Recipients for this award are nominated by their colleagues, colleague executive directors, staff of their own organizations, or board members of their agencies. The judging panels are composed of past Florette Angel recipients. So this award represents the recognition and respect of the recipients' colleagues, the people who truly understand how hard and how fulfilling their work is. This award was instituted by the National Association of Child Advocates after Florette Angel's death in 1993. And it was reestablished by the Partnership for America's Children in 2018. Through the years, there have been over 20 award recipients so far, which you can see listed on your screen, and we're here today to honor the 21st. Rich Huddleston, the Executive Director of the Arkansas Advocates for Children and Families. In a normal year, this presentation would take place at a reception during the annual partnership retreat for member executive directors. But this year, we had to skip the award. We will also be sending the Arkansas Advocates for Children and Families a check from the partnership in the amount of $1,000. It's my pleasure at this time to introduce our first speaker, who is Cecilia Zalkind, the President and Chief Executive Officer of Advocates for Children of New Jersey. Celia was the nominator for Rich. We'll let her tell you why.
I'm delighted to nominate Rich Huddleston from Arkansas Advocates for Children and Youth as this year's Florette Angel awardee. To me, Rich exemplifies her legacy as a strong advocate for children in every way. He exemplifies leadership. He's had success in policy change to advance the well-being of children. He champions children in the political process, and he's a model of child advocacy as a profession. In reality, the partnership is made up of strong advocates that really do meet these criteria. But Rich stands out to me for several reasons. First, his success has been achieved in an extremely difficult environment. Arkansas is a state with scarce resources and conservative policies, which make child advocacy, I think, much harder than many of us face. Rich has addressed that by being very creative in his advocacy strategies. For example, he has really developed tax and revenue policy to support his advocacy agenda, which has been highly successful and necessary in advancing policy for children in Arkansas. And despite the challenging environment there, he has never shied away from taking on the hard issues. Second, Rich shares his leadership. He has developed and mentored an outstanding staff with expertise in the issues that make up their agenda. In fact, many of his staff have gone on to other positions, one on the national level. Third, he's a very strong partner to the rest of us. I participate with Rich in a number of national coalitions, and I always value his ideas, his input, his suggestions. He's very generous with his time, and he has supported the partnership. He served on the initial board of trustees of the Partnership for America's Children. He also served on the Kids Count Advisory Board. And finally, to me, Rich is a man of integrity. He exemplifies leadership. He is thoughtful and he listens. He builds consensus and elevates the voices of others. He has strong values and a commitment to equity. And to me, his influence is based on his substance rather than his position. So I'm excited that he has been chosen to be this year's Florette Angel awardee. I could not think of a better person for this award. And now let me read you the inscription on the award that Rich will receive later today. In recognition and celebration of your exemplary leadership in the field of advocacy, your work to promote a children's agenda through research, data analysis, relationships with state leaders, and engagement of other advocates, your inspirational ability to successfully advocate for children in a challenging political environment, your skillful integration of child advocacy with tax policy, your effectiveness in consensus building in state and national partnerships and coalitions, your creativity in developing advocacy strategies, your mentorship of your staff and elevation of others' voices, your generosity of your time and support for your colleagues, and your efforts to advance the field of child advocacy through your service as a founding member of the Board of Directors of the Partnership for America's Children. The Florette Angel Memorial Child Advocacy Award is presented to Rich Huddleston, Arkansas Advocates for Children and Families.
It is my pleasure to introduce our next speaker, Dr. Gary Wheeler. Dr. Wheeler is the president of the Board of Directors of Arkansas Advocates for Children and Families and works closely with Rich.
Hello, I'm Gary Wheeler, Board President of Arkansas Advocates for Children and Families. Rich, it is my honor to present to you today, on behalf of the Partnership for America's Children, the Florette Angel Memorial Childhood Advocacy Award for 2020. As a representative of your Arkansas family, having shared the last 15 years as a volunteer and board member, I've watched the fingerprints that you've put on the diverse portfolio you inherited at our organization, using research to push us forward in education, juvenile justice, health access, tax policy, and now to create a robust plan to elevate equity as a primary policy goal for families in Arkansas. Your skills as an executive director are remarkable. It seems to me uncommon to excel as an administrator, to have such an exhaustive knowledge of so many areas, and to also be such a creative problem solver. In the words of a former employee, you have an indefatigable passion for the welfare of children and families. The last year has created crushing challenges for families in Arkansas. They've had to struggle with COVID-19, hunger, homelessness, and racial strife. But our organization has survived and responded as you have created a virtual and effective team to carry on. The team survived in large part because of the talent you have assembled, the goodwill that you have maintained with our community members, the hard-earned collaborations of our state partners, and the rich network of donor organizations that recognize your policy accomplishments, organizational skills, and analytic capacity. These assets match this moment of opportunity in front of us to reset the compass and further lift the lives of those children and families it is our responsibility to guard. As alluded to in your nominating letter, it's been tough work to succeed against the significant odds in Arkansas's conservative environment, but you have, and the kids of our state and their families are better off for your effort. Congratulations, Rich, on this recognition by your peers. Enjoy the moment.
And finally, it is my pleasure to introduce our 2020 honoree, Rich Huddleston.
Good afternoon. It's such an honor and privilege to be with you today to receive this award from the Partnership for America's Children. I can't tell you how much I miss seeing all of you and the opportunity to be together in person as we would normally do in any other year. I hope each of you and your families are staying safe and well during this difficult time. You know, it always means a lot anytime others recognize your work and that of your organization. But it means even more when the recognition comes from your peers, colleagues, and friends in the network and the partnership who understand how hard this work can be and the importance of the advocacy work that we do for children and families in our respective states. I'm going to keep my remarks brief today, but I do want to thank some folks without whom this recognition would not have been possible. First, I want to thank the staff and board of directors of the Partnership of America's Children. Your hard work and leadership is so critical to the continued success of our network and for keeping our work front and center with national policymakers and funders. The partnership's members owe you a great debt for all the time and energy that you spend and the great work that you do in keeping our network strong and relevant at the national level and in our states. I also want to thank Seal Zalkin for nominating me for this award. Seal is a past recipient of this award, and I can't think of another advocate in our network who's impacted the well-being of children more in their state than Seal has. Seal, I can't tell you how much your kind words and your friendship mean to me and how much I've learned from you over the years. Knowing that you were the one who nominated me makes this recognition even more special. Most importantly, I want to thank the folks back in Arkansas who are directly responsible for this recognition today. I may be the one standing up here receiving this award, but it's really a recognition of the work and the impact that Arkansas Advocates for Children and Families has had over the years. I want to thank our board president, Dr. Gary Wheeler, and the Advocates Board of Directors for their hard work, their leadership, their support, and for having our backs when we take on the powers that be in our advocacy work. I want to thank especially the past and current staff of Arkansas Advocates. I've been blessed over the years to have strong, smart, and committed staff who have advocated tirelessly to improve the lives of Arkansas's children and families. You more than anyone are responsible for the policy wins that Arkansas Advocates has had over the years and for bringing recognition, visibility, and credibility to our work. I especially want to recognize Jennifer Ferguson, our Deputy Director, who has been with me since the beginning and who really does the hard work in the organization. On more occasions than I can count, all of you have made me look good and made me look smart, even in those instances when, quite frankly, I didn't deserve it. But as staff and leaders, we don't do our work in a vacuum. Our work would not be possible without having strong and committed partners at the state and national levels, policymakers who champion our ideas, and fellow advocates in our states who engage our policymakers, and finally, our donors and funders, both here in Arkansas and at the national level, who make our work possible. And finally, on a more personal level, I want to thank my family, especially my wife, Janie, who has supported me in my work even when it meant I had to work long nights or weekends, when I had to be away from home for weeks at a time to attend national meetings, and also had to put up with me from time to time when I came home grumpy and whiny after a tough day at the state capitol. Your love and support have made it possible for me to do this advocacy work for all these years. And finally, I want to recognize the hard and amazing work and the commitment of all of you, my fellow advocates in the Partnership for America's Children Network. I've been the executive director at Arkansas Advocates since 2004, and the last 4 years, without question, have been the most difficult years we have faced politically and in our work. The advocacy work we do in our own states is difficult enough without the craziness and ultra-partisanship we've had to face at the national level the last 4 years. And much of that, of course, was before the pandemic of 2020. I know the past year has been exhausting for all of us in the partnership and has brought about unprecedented challenges on how we do our advocacy work that we've never had to face before. But I can't think of another time when our advocacy work has been more needed or more important. And as all of you know only too well, Many of the children and families in our states, especially children and families of color, are hurting right now, and many of them have lost loved ones as a result of the pandemic. But I know in my heart that as bad as things have been for our children and families over the past year, it would have been far worse without your advocacy work and your commitment to doing that advocacy work at the local, state, and national levels. But there is more work to be done. The pandemic and its impacts are not over, and your hard work and commitment will be even more important over the next couple of years as we advocate for better public policies that will help children and families recover from the pandemic's lasting impacts. People who know how hard this work is sometimes ask me, why have I stayed at Advocates all these years, when I could have been doing other things? The reason I tell them is that I can't think of another job that is more important and potentially more impactful than the advocacy work that we do. When we are successful in our work, we can help protect and improve the well-being of thousands of vulnerable children and families in our states. And in many of our states, people look to us to be the voice for children and families and to advocate on their behalf. I can't think of another job more important or more rewarding than the work that we do. So as I wrap up, I want to thank you again for joining us today and for this incredible recognition. And on behalf of the staff and board at Arkansas Advocates, we hope that you, your staff, and your families will stay safe and well during 2021, and hopefully we'll see you in person later this year. Thank you and have a great day.
We'd like to propose a toast to our winner. When McCoy, my organization, joined Voices for America's Children, the predecessor of the partnership, and I attended my first executive director's retreat, Rich Huddleston was my retreat buddy. And it became really clear to me as a new executive director to this organization that Rich was held in high esteem by his colleagues for all his achievements as an advocate for children, youth, and families. And now, as we honor him today as the winner of the Florette Angel Award, I invite all of us to grab whatever drink we have handy, and we raise and honor Rich, the winner of the Florette Angel Award. Way to go, Rich.